Okay, we are starting lesson 5. This is the first session for that one. And lesson 5 is going to basically revolve around dividing multi-digit numbers. So our learning target is to find whole number quotients of whole numbers, up to 4-digit dividends and 2-digit divisors, blah, 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 blah. I'll explain what all those words mean, but you can read it there on the screen, pause it if you'd like. But let me explain things to you guys in fifth grade terms as we get into the lesson. First thing we want to do is do a bit of a warm-up. The question here is, how can you use multiplication to solve each division equation? Well, one thing you need to know about multiplication and division problems is they're called inverse operations of each other, and that term will come up here in a second. Let me just write it here on the board for you. Inverse operations. That means they basically undo each other, or they're like the opposites of one another, but they are closely related, as you'll find out here. Let's look at the first one. We have 30 divided by 10. Now, using multiplication to solve that, we can take this 10 right here and know that we've got to do 10 times something will equal 30. And a lot of you can do that one in your head. You know, 10 times 3 equals 30, which means 30 divided by 10 equals 3, just like that. So you can see how they're related. You can basically look at this problem like as 10 times something. Change that equal sign to a multiplication symbol. You can figure that out. Let's do the next one. This is 24 times 12. So what we're going to do for this one is do 12 times something equals 24. And you probably know that 12 times 2 equals 24, because you know your multiplication facts, which means this will be 24 divided by 12 equals 2. So again, you could just take these parts of a division problem and turn them into a multiplication problem if that's a little bit easier. And then basically do 10 times 3 would give you the 30. And 12 times 2 would give you that 24. So again, just reconfigure it in your head, and division will be a snap for you guys. Okay. So turn to page 77, and you should see a desk over there in the right-hand corner. Okay. There are 92 fifth graders at Wilson Middle School. So again, I like to have us underline the important information. So 92 fifth graders and 23 students in each fifth grade classroom. How many fifth grade classrooms are there at Wilson Middle School? So let's create a problem from this. So we have 92 total fifth graders, and each classroom is divided into 23 equal groups, or into groups of 23, excuse me. And then we have to figure that one out. You can use estimation. Now, tomorrow's lesson will focus a lot on estimating, so let's estimate. And when you estimate, you basically play around with these numbers to turn it into a problem that's easy for you to understand. So I'm looking at the 23, I'm looking at the 92, and I'm thinking I could turn this into 100 divided by 25. And I know that right off the top of my head is 4. So we're probably looking at an answer that's going to be around 4. So we can also solve this like we did with the warm-up. And you've got your 23 here. So we can say 23 times something will equal 92. And we can do that. Some of you might be able to do this in your head. Some might need to try some numbers that make sense, but 4 times 3 is 12. Carry your 1. 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1 is 9. So I know 23 times 4 equals 92. So your final answer is 92 divided by 23 equals 4. So they will need 4 classrooms for Wilson Middle School. Turn the page. And that just starts us off by, what is 92 divided by 23? Well, we know it's 4. Explain your reasoning, because we already figured it out, so you don't need to worry about that. Look at the problem right below there. So there's a lot going on in this page, but right here, let me start reading off, and then I've got a few things for everyone to write in on your piece of paper. Some back history here. Multiplication and division are called inverse operations because they undo each other, or they're opposites of each other. For example, the related multiplication and division equations are 5 times 7 equals 35, and 35 divided by 5 equals 7. Show that if you multiply a number by 5 and then divide the result by 5, you end up with the number you started with. So that's a little complicated to try to decipher from all that. So before I even get started, I want to use this sample question right here. It's 264 divided by 12. So over here in the space on the right, I want you to write 264 divided by 12. And we're going to be using some terms here that I want us to get used to using. So the number that's being divided is the dividend. So label that as the dividend. The number that is doing the dividing is the divisor. And as you probably remember, the answer to a division problem is a quotient. So I will be making sure to use these terms quite a bit. So you're more comfortable with them. The more you hear them, the more that they'll make sense to you, or the more they'll stick in your brain if they haven't already. Okay, so right below here, start by listing the products of the divisor 12 and multiples of 10. So again, our divisor is 12 and our multiples of 10, and we're using all of this to try to figure out how we can estimate. And again, tomorrow's lesson is all about estimating. But if we have a multiple of 10 times 12 is 120, 20 times 12 is 240, 30 times 12 is 360, 40 times 12 is 480, and 50 times 12 is 600. So we're going to use this table to get a better idea of what our answers are probably going to be, or if the answer we get is in the right ballpark, or if it's even close. All right, so part B, which row of the table above is related to the dividend in 264 divided by 12? So remember, your dividend is going to be the number that's being divided. So I'm looking at this second row right here, and all these numbers look like they're going to help us with the dividend. So we'll say the second row. And how could you use a table to estimate the quotient of 264 divided by 12? Well, what we can look at is, with all these numbers I've just circled in that second row, I know that my answer is between the 20 and the 30, because you got a 240 and a 360, and 264 is going to be found right in between those. So our final answer will be between 20 and 30. So if it's above 30, we know we did something wrong. If it's below 20, we probably need to go back and check something else. All right, part C here. We have an area model. So you don't use these too often, but they're just good to know how to use them. So go ahead and just label it, area model. And the area model here is breaking up the question into a physical part, so you can see it solved visually. So start with 12 times a multiple of 10 to divide 264 by 2 using the area model and complete the missing numbers. So we've got 12 times 20, and that gave us 240. for this part. And we know that 264 minus 240, that's going to give us 24 left over. So we put that right in there. And then we know 12 times what will give us 24? Well, that's 2. And then we know 20 plus 2 is 22. So our answer for 264 divided by 12 is going to be 22. And look at that. It checks out. It's between 20 and 30. So we've done it right with that. Is the area model practical? No. Does the area model help us kind of break apart a division problem and understand how it works? Yes. But just like with multiplication, we will be working towards a standard algorithm way of doing things. Okay, so look down at 3, at the very bottom of the page. Clear my ink. Okay, how can you use the inverse relationship between multiplication and division to check your answer to 264 divided by 12? Now let's write in that 264 divided by 12 equals 22. That's what we think it is. Well, spoiler alert, it is actually what it is. But how can we use multiplication to check our answer? We can take our divisor and our quotient and multiply those together, 12 times 22. And I'm going to do the work over here on the side. All right, 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 2 is 4 again. Now remember, this number is in the tens, so you're going to have to put a 0 there to represent that. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 2 is 2. Don't forget to add 4, 6, and 2. It checks out. 264 is the answer for that one. So we checked our work with our multiplication. You could do the opposite for solving a multiplication problem. You can use division to check it too. So they work together. They have this, again, inverse relationship. So there's that. Your homework is IXL, once again. These shouldn't be too tough. This is more of a warm-up, getting you used to putting together division problems. So it's going to be D2. I'll have a star next to it, and it's division facts of 12 in the form of word problems. And it's good practice to take the word problems, the numbers, figure out which is the dividend, which is the divisor, and then you're going to get your quotient, or also known as your answer for a division problem. Okay, good luck.